but are starving for transformation. We scroll for hours yet still feel empty. We save quotes, highlight books, not as spiritual videos, but when life hits us, we forget it all. Why? Because knowing is easy, living it is a different mastery. The problem is we know too much but feel too little. We've become collectors of wisdom but forgotten how to be servants of truth. We repost every second line that sounds deep but lose patience and respect. So we meditate for 5 minutes and complain for the next 5 hours. It's alignment, application, action. So today, let me hold your mind but to your habits. Let us reflect not on what you've learned but what we've actually become. Because the greatest anger is the discomfort. Most people don't struggle with knowledge, they struggle with discipline, courage, and the silence you need to listen with. And we live in a time where almost everyone has access to it. The words of saints, the teachings of enlightened masters, ourselves of ancient times, all available in second. Our phones are filled with saved posts, highlighted quotes, and where someone teachings, when we hear someone speak, that's so true. We share it with others, caption it, needed this today, and for a brief moment, we feel like we've understood life. But the truth is, the mind knows, but has not felt yet. There's a vast difference between hearing about peace seek and living peacefully. Between knowing that forgiveness is powerful and forgiving someone who broke you. Patience is a virtue and remaining calm when your plans fall apart. The mind may agree, but unless the heart has been softened by experience, wisdom reveals the theory, not the truth. We can tell someone and still feel shattered when someone disappoints us. We can preach, live in the moment, yet spend most of our day worrying about what's next. Why does this happen? It's because the heart still hasn't tasted what the mind is constantly preaching. It's like reading 1,000 pieces but never stepping into the kitchen. You can display the ingredients, but you've never felt the aroma, the heat, the magic, because you've never cooked. It's the soil where wisdom must grow. And the only water that softens this soil is experience. You might know the definition of humility, but you never understand it until life puts you in a position where your pride is broken and no one claps for you. You will never understand it until something doesn't go your way and you're forced to kneel with empty hands. That's when heart begins to feel. That's when knowledge starts becoming life. Let me give you a simple daily life example. Imagine you not reacting in anger. You know anger causes pain. You've hurried in speed. One day someone close to you says something that hits your ego. Suddenly you feel this fire rising in your chest. Your body tenses. Your mind starts preparing the perfect comeback. And in that split second, your knowledge disappears. The mind is blank. Why? Because you never practiced feeling the wisdom. You only memorized it. Now contrast that with someone who has trained their heart through small everyday moments. When delayed in traffic, someone who pauses before answering rudely, someone who chooses silence in arguments, they felt the pain of past mistakes. Their heart has been enough to understand that reacting never heals. So now, in that same situation, they choose peace. That's not just symbolic, that's embodiment. This is why spiritual growth is not about knowing more. It's about feeling deeper. But you only feel the truth of it when life hits so hard. You have nothing but trust left, and in that helplessness, something within you breaks and something else is born. That something is real wisdom. Not the kind you read, but the kind you become. Every day life gives us small invitations to let our heart feel what our mind knows. When someone interrupts you, that's your moment to feel humility. When your efforts are unseen, that's your invitation to experience detachment. When someone else is praised and you are not, that's the time to feel the beauty of circles. These are not just moments to endure. These are sacred chances to bring your knowledge into the soil of the heart. The mind can know many things, but only the heart can turn them into transformation. And the heart only softens through time, patience, and experience. Sometimes we think we are not growing just because we have another book or attended another seminar. But true growth is invisible. It's when you argue less, when you choose science more, when you feel less anxious, when you no longer chase what you used to crave, when you're no longer in love with the idea of being seen, because you're finally starting to see yourself. So the next time you learn something beautiful, don't just start a move on. Pause, close your eyes, ask yourself, where in my life can I feel this? Where in my life am I still just knowing and not becoming? That question can shift your entire being, because ultimately truth must move the head to the heart and lead it into your hands and your life. When that happens, you stop quoting wisdom and start walking it, peace and start radiating it, and then slowly but surely the distance between what you know, how you live begins to disappear. And in that alignment, your true spiritual journey begins. In an age where the information is worshipped, we are surrounded by it in our phones, on our screens, in conversations, and even in the silence between thoughts. There is no shortage of answers, no lack of insights. Search engines have become modern day gurus. But what's missing is not access. What's missing is depth. Because information is not integration. You can know how to swim by reading 5 books on it, but unless you dive into water, how it feels to stay afloat. The words might sound familiar, the instructions might be crystal clear, but the reality of swimming cannot be known until your body trembles in cold water and your breath panics before it finds its rhythm. Today too, when consuming today, we scroll endlessly, absorbing endless fragments of wisdom. A quote about letting go, a post about mindfulness, a video on inner peace, it's all there ready for us. But the truth is, knowing it. You can watch 1,000 motivational talks, but if you don't stand up and move your feet, you'll still be in the same place tomorrow. Our knowledge doesn't change yet. Living it does. Imagine a man who studies everything about meditation, breathing, posture, focus, even the neuroscience behind it. But when life throws him into chaos, deadlines, heartbreak, pressure, he forgets to sit and breathe. Why? Because it never moved beyond theory. He has information, but no integration. Integration means letting knowledge sink so that knowledge sinks so deep that it becomes your default response, not just a remembered thought. It means when anger rises, you remember patience, not because you recall a quote. Patience it means when uncertainty surrounds you, walk in faith, not because someone told you to, but because faith will become the air you breathe. This is why people often say, I know what to do. It's because the gap between integration hasn't been crossed. That gap is where real spiritual work lies. And crossing it requires more than reading. It requires living. Take another day example. The best diet, the benefits of exercise, the danger of sugar, the value of sleep. You may talk about it to others. Share articles. Preach it with passion. But every night he stays up late, eats poorly, and skips his morning walk. His life is not a reflection of what he knows. And so his reality doesn't change. That's what most of us are doing. We're building libraries in our minds and deserts in our actions. We think more information will save us. Seeds scattered on stone. They don't grow roots. And sadly, the more we consume, the more we believe we've changed. But real change doesn't happen in what we collect. It happens in what we practice consistently. You won't need to tell anyone you're peaceful. They'll feel it in your presence. You won't need to quote scriptures. Your humility will reflect them. You won't need to say you evolved. Your choices will reveal it. It shows up quiet how you behave when no one is used. We often think we need to learn more. But sometimes what we really need is to pause and practice what we already know. Maybe you already been on how to listen, how to forgive. That's where wisdom lives, in the decision you make when your ego is bruised, in the action you choose when your world is shaking. One of the most powerful realizations you can have is this: I don't need more teaching. Because until you apply what you know, you are just a collector, not a transformer. So the next time you feel the urge to read another post, watch another video, or search for another answer post, ask yourself, have I lived the last piece of wisdom? If not, then don't move forward. Go deeper instead. Water the seed. Let it be time to grow. Because it's not about how much you've read. It's about how much you've become. Consistently live. Integration is when truth walks off the pages and enters your breath, your voice, your eyes, and your decisions. And once that happens, you don't just carry knowledge. You carry light. It creeps in unnoticed, dressed as wisdom, disguised as understanding. But the truth is, when knowledge isn't lit, it becomes a mask. And behind that mask, the ego quietly grows. We speak fluent wisdom because wisdom without practice becomes ego, not humility. Not healing, just inflated knowledge with no roots in real experience. Imagine a man who constantly speaks of patience, preaches the art of staying calm, tells others to breathe and trust the process. The moment his flight is delayed or someone challenges his opinion, he snaps, his voice rises, his face changes. What happened to all that knowledge was never practiced. It sat like dust on the shelves of his mind, untouched. And now, for performance, when we collect spiritual or motivational knowledge, but don't apply it, our inner ego feeds on. We start feeling superior, more aware than others. We figure our life out just because we know the right thing to say. But life doesn't ask us what we know. It tests what we live. And when your actions don't match your words, that's not wisdom. That's pride in disguise. Choose an ignorance. At least someone who knows nothing may still be humble, open, ready to learn. But someone who knows everything, yet does nothing with it, walks around thinking they've arrived. They become untouchable. Because of that illusion, that ego is built not on money or status, but on unlived knowledge. Think about it. You might know all the teachings of compassion. You might quote the Gita, the Bible, speak about forgiveness, understanding, empathy. If you still keep up for their mistakes, if you still mock those who are struggling, if you still treat others like they're beneath you, then what is the point of all that wisdom? It hasn't softened you, it's only sharpened your pride. Sometimes, who speaks the least, who doesn't know the fancy words, who doesn't share quotes, is the one who truly lives with depth. They don't talk about mindfulness, they listen fully when you speak. They don't preach about detachment, but they're not shaken when plans change. They reflect it silently in their choices. Ego loves to speak, but real wisdom is silent. It's seen in how you show up when things don't go your way. It's in how you treat the waiter, the cleaner, the one who has nothing to offer you. Your kindness to a rude civility to a stranger, your ability to stay grounded when praised or criticized. Every time you speak of something you haven't lived, you distance yourself from your truth. Your soul knows the gap between what you say and what you are. Frustration and pride, because deep inside, you've been pretending, you've replaced living with labeling. Even on social media, we've turned wisdom into performance. We post powerful captions, share insightful videos. But behind the scenes, we're still hurting others, avoiding our own healing, ignoring the very truths we preach. We've learned to wear wisdom like fashion. But fashion doesn't change the heart. The real ones, they live quietly. They fall, they fail, they feel deeply. And in every experience, they let truth shape them. Not in theory, but in action. So ask yourself, are you living what you know? You've forgotten how to be it. Have your words become a shield for your ego instead of a reflection of your soul? Because wisdom is not about knowing more. It's about becoming less reactive, less egoic, less judgmental. When you stop using wisdom as a performance and start using it as a mirror that doesn't flatter you, that humbles you, it shows you the work you still need to do, then that's where real growth begins. Not when you impress others in the silence of your own journey. So let the knowledge you've gathered not inflate your identity, but dissolve it. Let it make you softer, not smarter. Let it lead you back to humility, not superiority. Because in the end, that blocks your soul, your ego wearing holy clothes. And the world doesn't need more performers of wisdom. It needs real ones, those who walk it quietly, deeply, truly. Constant feeding our minds. We wake up and check our phones, scroll through, watch reels, listen to podcasts. Our brains are overloaded with ideas, strategies, philosophies. But amidst all this mental activity, the emotional digestion of what we're consuming, because no matter how much we feed the mind, if we don't allow our heart to feel and absorb, we will never truly transform. Growth doesn't happen through overthinking. The kind that happens in silence, in stillness, in surrender. You can listen to someone speak about letting go, and it might make sense logically. You nod your head, you agree. But when someone you love walks away from your life, that's when you discover whether your heart has actually understood what your mind already knew. It's in those moments of pain, of loss, of uncertainty, when tears replace theories, that emotional digestion begins. Those thoughts to absorb what the mind couldn't explain. Most people rush past these moments. The discomfort makes them want to escape. So instead of sitting with the feeling, they distract themselves with more content, more noise, more advice. Well, healing happens when you pause, when you allow yourself to feel what you usually suppress, when you sit with the ache long enough for it to speak, because feelings don't just want to be fixed, they want to be felt. You might know that time heals all wounds. You might even tell others that everything happens for a reason. But when you lose someone close to your heart, the pain doesn't care about your mental theories. And in that darkness, something beautiful can unfold if you let it. If you allow yourself to cry, to feel, to break without rushing to look strong again, the emotion transforms into wisdom. Not in the mind, but in the soul. You realize the depth of love, the fragility of time, the beauty of prisons. That is emotional digestion. It's the same with forgiveness. You might understand that holding on to anger only poisons your own heart. Forgiveness to others. But what happens when someone betrays you, when someone lies or hurts you deeply? Your mind might say forgive, but your heart clenches in pain. That's where the real work begins. You can't rush that process. It's a slow surrender, a layered unfolding. It requires you to first feel the anger fully, to honor the hurt, to understand the loss, and only then through the fire comes the freedom. And yet we've been trained to avoid feeling, for not letting things affect us. But strength is not about avoidance. Real strength lies in your capacity to sit with the storm, to feel deeply without drowning in it. A weakness, they are your inner compass, guiding you through the maze of your own evolution. You may have noticed this in daily life. You hear a powerful message about gratitude, it sounds beautiful. You think, yes, but unless you take time each day to sit quietly and feel what you're thankful for, not just list it in your head, but feel it in your heart, it won't change you. It'll stay as a good idea, not a living force. When you truly digest gratitude, as you notice more, you feel full even without much. That's emotional digestion at work, turning knowledge into presence. We often say, I know what I should do, but I don't feel it. That's the missing step of the book with mental health. But some answers don't live in logic, they live in surrender, in vulnerability, in stillness. That's where the heart speaks. And when the heart speaks, the soul listens. So the next time you hear something wise said with others, to share something, let it stir something within. Let it pass through the walls of your ego and reach the chambers of your heart. Let it break you open if it must. Let it bring tears, confusion, reflection. That's when it becomes real and starts becoming a lesson. Because the mind may be quick to learn, but the heart takes time to heal. And healing is never rushed. It is nurtured through the quieter of emotional digestion. Through giving yourself permission to feel. When you allow that your growth becomes deeper than knowledge. It becomes wisdom that flows from your soul. Not because you read it, but because you felt every word. There is a beautiful illusion in learning, a sense of progress, a comfort. Better just because we're feeding our minds with powerful words and meaningful ideas. But behind that rush is a fear we rarely speak of, the fear of change, because learning feels safe, it's private, it happens in the mind. But change, that asks for action, and that is why most people are addicted to learning but afraid of changing. It's easy to sit in bed and watch a video on self-worth, to hear someone speak about boundaries, healing, moved for a moment, it gives the illusion that we're evolving, that we're doing something noble for ourselves. But when life presents us with the actual opportunity to set a boundary, when someone crosses a line, suddenly all that learning fades into silence because change is not comfortable. It demands confrontation. It demands choosing discomfort over habit. You might listen to someone talk about letting go of the past. And you'll agree. Video, but when it's time to delete that old message thread, to finally stop stalking someone's profile, to stop replaying the old memories in your head, that's when you pause. That's when the fear rises. To say goodbye to something that once gave you identity, even if it broke you. And the mind doesn't like that. It wants to keep learning about healing, not actually heal. Change is messy. It requires sacrifice. You'll have to disappoint others to stay true to yourself. You'll have to choose early mornings when your body craves sleep. You have to practice silence when your ego wants to scream. It's not a glamorous path that leads to truth. And most people aren't ready to walk it. So they keep reading, watching, listening, hoping one more video, one more book will somehow change their life. But life doesn't change when you learn something new. When you stop texting the person you always run back to, when you speak up for yourself, even if your voice trembles, when you walk away from what's easy to make space for what's necessary. That is real transformation, not comfortable. How many things do you know already? You know you should stop overthinking. You know you should eat healthier. You know that comparing yourself online only makes you miserable. You know that holding on to resentment is poisoning your peace. The truth is we don't need more lessons. We need more courage. It's like standing on the edge of a diving board. You've watched the tutorials. You know how to position your body. You know the water is deep enough, but you still hesitate. That's what most avoid. So they go back. They watch more videos on diving. They talk to others who've jumped. They research more. But the leap never happens. And so they stay in the same place. Real growth begins when you're willing to feel awkward. When you're okay with failing. When you stop needing to get it perfect and just start. When you stop collecting ideas and start living them. It's in the silent. When you said you would, saying no even when it's uncomfortable, choosing rest over scrolling, choosing discipline over excuses. These are the daily moments where change begins. Not loud, not dramatic, but powerful. You don't have to become a different person overnight. You just need to become brave enough to do one thing differently today than you did yesterday. That's how you cross the bridge from learning to living. That's how you stop being addicted to the comfort of understanding and start stepping into the discomfort of becoming. The truth is no amount of matter if you're not willing to change. You can listen to every podcast, attend every workshop, read every book. Your life will stay the same until you act. Free for a lifetime. So let this be a gentle challenge to your soul. The next time you feel inspired by something, don't just write it down. Don't just say, I needed this. Do something with it. Apply it. Live it. Convenience you. Let it stretch because that's the only way it will ever change you. Learning is easy. Changing is hard. But only one of them transforms your life. There comes a moment in every seeker's life where books no longer satisfy and where words begin to lose their flavor. It is in that moment that you are gently being invited into something deeper. The sacred realization that the most powerful scripture you'll ever read is not found in holy books or lectures. Every choice, every mistake, every relationship, every detail, and every moment of stillness is a sacred verse. You are the living scripture. And until you begin to see your life as your spiritual book, all the wisdom you collect will remain borrowed. To understand devotion, just watch a mother sacrifice her sleep for her child. That's devotion. You don't need to recite teachings about detachment. Just sit with the aches of letting go of someone you once loved. That's detachment lived. Powerful spiritual experiences are not found in retreats or temples. They're found in the rawness of daily life, in how you respond to delay, how you speak when you're angry, how you behave when no one is watching. A life like a sacred text, everything becomes teacher. Your failures are no longer shameful. They become instructions. Your heartbreaks are no longer meaningless. They become initiations. Distractions, they become mirrors. Every situation becomes a message. Every emotion becomes a lesson. Every moment becomes a page in your unfolding spiritual journey. That only comes when you look at your life, friends, not as something happening to you, but something being written through you. Every chapter has its purpose. The lonely nights, the seasons of confusion, the people who triggered your wounds, the doors that closed. All of it designed not to punish, but to polish. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine a person who studies kindness, quotes it often, teaches it beautifully. But one day someone insults them in public in that very moment, unless it shows up in how they respond. If they meet the insult with dignity, with grace, with silence, that moment becomes their scripture. That is a sentence written in gold. That is a lesson the soul will never forget. It's harder to practice it when someone disappoints you. It's easy to understand detachment when you're not emotionally involved. It's harder when your heart is entangled. But that's where the real pages are written. It is transformed by what you do, especially when it's hard. Even the ordinary days are sacred. Waking up early when the bed feels too warm. Making time for someone else when you're exhausted. Staying calm in traffic. Choosing to breathe deeply when life becomes loud. These moments are not small. They are chapters in your personal scripture. Proof that the divine is not outside but living through you. Moments to feel spiritual. They think transformation comes in grand experiences. But the soul doesn't grow in noise. It grows in the silent indices. The kind that don't win applause. The kind that only you and God know. So stop trying to sound spiritual. Start trying to be real. Stop trying to collect more teachings. Start looking at your life as a teaching. Don't just quote the Gita. Become the Arjuna who surrenders his pride to the Bible. Become the person who forgives in the face of betrayal. Don't just light incense and chant. Become the one who holds peace even when chaos is around them. Your life is your sacred book. It is being written with every breath you take. The silence you sit in is your meditation. The love you give is your offering. The mistakes you make are not stains on your soul. They are footnotes of grace. When you finally begin to see your life this way, it becomes your presence. You no longer need validation because you carry the temple within. You no longer need to perform because your heart is enough. You don't need to explain your path. You simply walk it. And in walking it with honesty, your life becomes a light. Not just for yourself, but for everyone who watches you. Not because you told them what to do, but because you became the living proof of what is possible. A human being who didn't just learn about truth, but lived it, felt it. And that is the most powerful scripture of all.